So we turn this very diagram, this very methodology into assessments, and we believe that we have to assess instead of make a mess, right? So let's look at it. If we start to assess, I want to show you on the left here what you'll see. When you see any green bars, that means a favorable score. So people who answered questions and they said that they agree or strongly agree. If it's in white, then it'll be a neutral. They said that they neither agree nor disagree. And if it's in red, that means they said disagree or strongly disagree. So when we ask questions like before, that I feel safe from intellectual harm, if people said strongly disagree, it would be in red. If they said neither disagree or agree, it would be in white. And then if they said agree or strongly agree, it would be in green. So let's look at these scores. These are scores similar to what we've seen with clients last year. Now, if we measure their team, here's how some of the information is coming back. Now, as you're seeing this, it's important to think about, what if your data came back like this? Well, your team wasn't even aware of how they can grow. Some people do not even understand how pay and promotion work in their workplace. How pay and promotion, like that, how can they work for pay they don't understand? This is interesting, right? So we can look at these scores alone and say, now people start to say, okay, we have a problem. But Kimmy, this is just data. How does this kind of connect to DEI? Well, great questions. The next piece, if we start doing any kind of demographic comparison, so if you're gathering data and you're not gathering it to be able to filter by demographics, then you're never going to really see what kind of DEI issues you have. So I'll tell you right here, one of the key things you can do, especially if you're doing employee engagement surveys and pieces and things like that, make sure you're gathering demographic data so you can do a version of what we're about to show you right now, which is having a demographic comparison. So if we choose just the demographic on race or ethnicity, since we're talking about racial equity here, it's important to then say we can filter out, and I'm just using an example here, by white and then by black, right? So that same data set, all of a sudden, the scores get drastically higher for the group who identifies as white and drastically lower for the group who identifies as black. So now we can clearly see that we have inequity gaps inside of your organization. If this was your data, what would you do about it? We're not asking you to save the world. We're asking you to make sure we can close the gaps inside of your organization. Because it's important to know that if you had it like this, where anybody based on any demographic that you split could rate high scores, this is how you know that your people are working safely and thriving. Notice that we're not even asking you to aim for perfection. This is 90% favorable and 10% neutral. That means that we let 10% account for the world sucking sometimes, for work sucking sometimes, that we don't always want to be at work. We don't always get along with our coworkers. That's fair. Let's just put that at neutral, where people say, yeah, we're going to account for that. What if your team feeling like they belong at work, that they're safe, that they actually have a pathway to thrive, is the norm in your culture?